Hey, what's up, guys? I just want to tell you that this video you're watching, it's just a clip. You could watch the full episode on our YouTube channel. Also, you could check the whole episode on all platforms where podcast streaming is available. I know there's a lot of things we'd talk about with Dentuit, but I'd like to start from the beginning. You said your family members are dentists. What made you decide to go into computer science?
Okay, yeah, so that's a great question. Actually, when you talked about me getting that bachelor's degree at University of Maryland, Baltimore County, or UMBC, which I think maybe some others would remember more as the upsetter in the NCAA tournament, the very first to kind of upset the first round, FYI, UVA hashtag. But anyways, pretty much that was actually my second degree, and so I think it's important kind of to also kind of emphasize that it wasn't the most direct route that I arrived here to kind of be able to kind of really study and enjoy and embrace computer science as my profession, more or less, if you will. But before that, I actually got I had gone to undergrad at Penn State University in Pennsylvania, and basically got a life science degree there in 2009. And you can only imagine around that time it was a economic recession at the time, although it seems a lot smaller compared to what we're going through now. But there's a lot of similarities and parallels that is really similar to what we're going through right now. But I'm in a different situation now compared to where I was in 2009. So it's very fascinating to compare the two and see how I'm now getting through this economic kind of challenges with the position that I'm in, seemingly even in a more riskier position, trying to create a startup in all times. But I will emphasize that the things that I've kind of always been kind of told, and what I kind of noticed from recent history, is that some of the most successful companies, Airbnb, Facebook, you name it, Instagram, they all actually came out during the economic recession. It was around that time where I believe a lot of people just started to lose trust, including myself, in more of the system at the time, and sort of the education system will a college degree will buy you a job directly, etc. That was kind of shattered, and kind of a reality check around 2008, 2009, when I graduated with the life science. It was either I go to graduate school and invest even more student debt, or I kind of be without a job or do some low wage job or what have you. And so that was a reality check where I kind of spent then some time trying to figure out what I really wanted to do, and allowed also the world, the society, to develop technology-wise as well. Because around 2009, AI and ML is certainly not where it is today. Be it both the capabilities, but also the accessibility. I'm a big proponent of having and providing access to not only healthcare, if you will, but also technology, the ability to kind of use and learn how to use technology to then be the next generation of problem solvers is a huge motivation for me, because that is sort of how I fell into then my next phase after life science, I suppose, is after a few years of kind of trying this and trying that and working some freelance. I ended up I ended up actually searching in Google randomly boot camp, coding boot, because I read something about it. I read something about how you can actually develop a career out of some boot camp, and so I was like, no way, this is possible. And I googled like boot camp, Baltimore, Maryland, which is where I am, and which is where I was born and raised around there. And one of the boot camps that was local to Baltimore came up. That was Betamore, and that is kind of to this day one of our startups, long-standing partner. That is our kind of our facility where we do the R&D and where our offices are. And it all started from me kind of searching, what is a boot camp, and is there something like that in this area? And there was. And next thing you know, around 2016, I'm taking the boot camp classes. I'm getting like exposed to coding and the things that you can do with that. And then one thing led to another, and I was like doing this internship with a very early stage startup. And from there, I kind of like learned the agile methodology principles and how to run maybe a startup with many different responsibilities. And at some point I wanted to go back to school and really kind of fully understand computer science from an undergraduate kind of degree education pathway. And I with a little bit of money investment, I basically went back to school, in this case UMBC, got the computer science degree, and basically went into UMBC with the intent of being an entrepreneur at that point. I wasn't going to just, settle for another, system kind of, based job where I have to kind of rely on some institution to kind of ensure my job security or whatever. I wanted to now do, the things that I wanted to do and do it the way that I thought was right, and what I was taught over experience and internships, and do it after I graduate. And so right before I graduated with the computer science degree, at that point, my brothers, have graduated from dental school. They're going into the dental field, and I had this conversation with my middle brother, who's again a practicing dentist here in the U.S. And I believe it was in Toronto. We were on a quick summer vacay up in Toronto. Beautiful there, by the way, in the summer, not in the winter, but during the summer. And
I heard.
and
I heard.
yeah, but yeah, all the Uber drivers were like, yeah, it's nice now, but yeah, wait till you see the winter. I'm like, yeah, I won't be here in the winter. But the thing is, so yeah, I do remember this specific conversation with my brother, and I was like, I was like, I knew a bit more about computer science technology and where it was in respect to society, like what was accessible, what was available, and what was possible. And I was really getting into it, and I basically did like a customer discovery interview that I didn't even know was a customer discovery interview. Straight up asked my brother, without any interjection of AI or some other technology that could possibly solve something. I said, if there was some pain point that you wanted to just solve in your current workflow today, where you see your patients today, and it can be something that technology in general can potentially address, what would that be? What would be your number one top of mind immediate thought that comes to mind? And he, without question, no joke, just said, to be honest, as I'm like looking at the, x-rays of my patients, I just wish there was a more reliable and quicker way for me to kind of ensure that I've kind of seen everything that I need to see in terms of interest areas, so that then I can be a lot more comprehensive when I'm looking at the patient manually, or when my brother David kind of then shuffles over to the patient and then starts kind of reconciling and confirming what he sees. He says, he spends a little bit too much time, he feels like, dealing with the various image processing filters that exist in today's imaging software solutions that probably Dr. Farhan knows about or talked about, perhaps. Just basic, brightness, contrast, you name it, right? The Instagram filter like stuff that you have to manually apply and also play around with to get it to the right kind of settings, so that then you can have the best possible kind of interpretation. Two things kind of stood out to me immediately when he told me that. One was, I think that can be a solved problem, if not already solved in some other domain, with computer vision. And I was taking a computer vision course at the time. And then the second thing was, man, that's even worse than like the concerns that patients already have with this idea of, well, I wish there was just a second opinion or just one other expert, qualified on the dentist level to be able to at least give me some secondary confirmation, right? Some affirmation. And so you combine those two, and the need for some sort of consensus-based AI support becomes a lot more clear. And that was the case as I finished up the computer vision course, did a little kind of project where we just did a small kind of scale caries detector using data augmentation, one of the machine learning techniques that I wanted to play around with. And me and my classmate, we got some really just surprisingly impressive results, to the point that led into a pitch competition towards the end of my graduation, won the pitch competition, took that money, and started dental imaging in the following summer. And then as I started, I knew that I had to at least work for a little bit while I could, figure out a way to go full time. And I can tell you how that happened for me to be full time with Dentuit now. But for a year after I graduated, exactly a year, I just worked as a data engineer for a local data analytics company in the area. They contract with the CMS, which in the U.S. is Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Insurance, and so I did some data engineering work there. But I knew going in that was just going to be a placeholder for what I was going to eventually do, was to find a way to go full time with Dentuit, which is the situation now.
Oh, look at that. You watch until the end of the show. Like, don't forget to subscribe to all our social media accounts. Also, don't forget to share it with your friends and like comment down below if you have thoughts regarding it. I'd love to read it.